Welcome back. In the previous lecture, we have seen the properties of root locus. In this lecture, we will see the steps that are required while sketching the root locus. And all these steps make the use of the properties considered in the previous lecture. So, let's start with step 1. So, step 1 is for the given system transfer function, obviously this is open loop transfer function GSHS, determine number of poles zeros and their locations. Why? So that we should know the PZ, that is number of open loop poles, number of open loop zeros and their locations, so that we can initiate the root locus from the open loop poles. And for that we need to draw the pole zero plot in the first step. Here I will write, draw pole zero plot in S plane. Then step number 2 is from the pole zero plot determine the region on the real axis where root locus exists. That means the step 2 is checking existence of root locus on the real axis and mark it on the pole zero plot. I will write it here. Mark it on the pole zero plot. Step number 3 is determine number of asymptotes and their angles. So how to find number of asymptotes? Equal to P minus Z, that is P and Z that can be substituted here, and angle of asymptote theta, right, that angle of asymptote equal to 2n plus 1 into 180 degree upon P minus Z, such that n is equal to 0, 1, so on up to P minus Z minus 1. Then in step 4, once the asymptote angles of asymptotes are obtained, then we have to find out the centroid. Determine centroid using formula centroid is equal to summation real part of poles minus summation real part of zeros upon P minus Z. So the entire information required for step 3 and 4 is determining step number 3. because from location of poles and zeros we will find out their real parts, and P minus Z is also obtained from step number 1. So centroid is also done, and after finding out centroid, draw the asymptotes. Now, these asymptotes are never the part of root locus, because root locus moves towards infinity along with this, and root locus will touch asymptote only at k equal to infinity, gain k equal to infinity. Meanwhile, it just moves closer to asymptote but not on the asymptotes, and that is why centroid also may or may not be the part of root locus. It may be the part of root locus, and also it may not be the part of root locus. So this is the only salient point on the root locus which may or may not be the part of root locus even though it exists. The remaining points are always the part of root locus if they exist at all. So step 5, determine break away or break in point. So for this, I'll write here as follows. And how? Determine closed loop characteristic equation 1 plus gs hs equal to 0 then determine expression for k and solve for dk by ds equal to 0. Whenever exists this breakaway point or break-in point is always the part of root locus. However, this breakaway point may not exist in some cases, where number 1, if the root locus is on the real axis from 0 to minus infinity, that means it never leaves the real axis. And second case, if there is no real pole at all, if all the poles are complex conjugate, then it will not come on the root locus if neither a pole nor a real 0 exist. So this is about step 5. So that means why I am telling this, because from step number 5 onwards, these steps are optional. They are not required for every problem. In some of the problems, all the steps are required. However, in some cases, few steps are not required. And that you will understand when we will solve numerical examples. Then step number 6 is determine intersection with imaginary axis. That is also called as J omega crossover, using root stability test. On what? The characteristic equation obtained in step 5 is used here with root stability test to find out the frequency of oscillation at k marginal, and that is nothing but the intersection with imaginary axis. And now the last step, that is step number 7, determine angle of departure oblique arrival. So step number 6 is also optional, because in some cases if the range of k in root stability test comes 0 to infinity, in that case root locus will never intersect the imaginary axis, and this happens when p minus z is less than or equal to 2 and all open loop poles are in the or zeros are in the left half of S plane. In that case root locus never enters in the right half of S plane. System is unconditionally stable, and this step number 6 is not required. And step number 7 is determining angle of departure and arrival. That is also optional, because it is not required when there are neither complex conjugate poles nor complex conjugate zeros. However, first 4 steps are always essential, even in some cases where p minus z is 1 or p minus z is 0. These 3 and 4 are not required. So the steps are optional and they are need based, but these are the total steps, and it is also possible that in some of the examples all 7 steps are required. So from the next lecture we will start solving numerical examples on root locus, and I am planning to solve 5 to 6 examples that will cover all possibilities of system function. It is enough in this lecture. Thank you.